Hello, welcome everyone. We'll just give it a few minutes before we start. It's great to have you here. Welcome. I can see a few more people jumping online, so that's great. So just a bit of housekeeping while we wait. There is a chat box that you can type to us, and there's a Q&A as well. Either one is fine in terms of if you want to ask questions throughout this webinar. We might just give it a minute or so because I can see that number rise. Great, look, we might get started. Thank you everyone for joining. My name is Chantel Perot and I'm the Partnership Manager at Studiosity. And I'm here with three of my colleagues, Layla from Waverley Library, Burgett from Randwick Library, and Michelle from Woollahra Libraries. And this webinar today is being brought to you on behalf of the Eastern Suburbs Library Consortium. So really great to have you. Today, we're actually going to be talking to a former HSC student, Mariam, who is now a med student at Western Sydney University. And we're essentially going to hear kind of the tips and tricks she used to best survive the HSC and how she came out at the other end with the ATAR that she wanted to get into the university course of her choice. So, you know, I remember the HSC like it was yesterday, and it was a very long time ago because of the amount of stress. I still remember the stress very, very well. And it is a very stressful time because it's very demanding and everything you do counts, unfortunately. So any kind of help, I'm sure that you're, you know, that any ideas and things like that, I'm sure to you are very welcome right now. So I'm going to start with Mariam, and I just want to ask Mariam a few questions first. Firstly, did you find the HSC stressful?
Yes, it was very stressful, especially since I also was doing my UCAT, so I had to balance so many things. And then also like I had to prepare for assignments, write study notes, and to practice exams all at once. So it's really important to manage time, which makes it very, very stressful.
Wow, I can imagine that would be stressful, and I can't wait to hear from you and all the things that you did. So firstly, what I'm going to do is just do a bit of an acknowledgement of country. Firstly, Studiosity, as well as the Eastern Suburbs Cooperative Libraries, acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connection to the land, sea and community. We pay respects to their elders past and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders peoples today. So thank you. So thank you, Mariam, for that brief introduction. So just to give everyone a bit of background about Mariam, she is a med student. She graduated with an ATAR of 97.6. And she, you know, we're going to hear today about how you survived, how you got through, what things you did. Firstly, can you tell us what subjects you did for your HSC?
Okay, so my school runs things quite differently. So in my school, we follow the 3x3 system, where you sit your HSC for half of your subjects in year 11, and you do the other half in year 12. Wow. So in the first time round, I did my HSC for biology, English, and senior math. And then in year 12, I did my HSC for chemistry, community and family studies, and extension 1 and 2 math.
Wow, so you did 2 lots of year 12 essentially. So that's 2 lots of very stressful exams. That's full on. How did you find that? Good, or would you have preferred to do it the traditional way?
I actually preferred the traditional way because in year 12, I was essentially doing 8 units at double paced, whereas some of my friends at other schools, they were doing 10 units at a normal pace. So in a way, I was disadvantaged because I was doing 4 subjects at double pace, whereas my friends at other schools, they were doing only 5 at normal pace. So they were much less stressed.
Yeah, so you would have had to be very organized for that. Very, like, that's a lot. I mean, even though it's half, it's double the pace. So you're really doing a lot. So let's start with one of your first tips. You mentioned something about study space. What's your ideas about how to set up the correct study space for HSC?
Okay, so in year 12, you would be spending so much time near your desk. So I would recommend having some nature in because its chances are that you will barely go outside. So I always had artificial flowers and real flowers just to spice up my space and also to make it your own and to personalize it. So by that, I mean, I'm buying some desk decor both of practical use and have an appealing look. Like for example, using an hourglass, and you can get some that are specific to ends within 30 minutes. And the good thing about having an hourglass on your desk is you can study in study sessions without having to have your phone next to you at a timer, which will most likely distract you.
Yes.
And also with your study space, make sure that you don't have too much things on your desk. So just have the essentials, like have a pencil holder and have a desk organizer like on the right side of your desk or the left side, depending on which side of your desk you use more. And they have like your essentials like paper clips, washi tapes, staplers, and then also have a bookshelf near your desk if you want. And then they have like your most used textbooks, but ensure you have as much as empty space on your desk as possible. And also another helpful tip is to wipe your desk with lavender oil or any nice scented oil, because it will give it this nice smell and it will motivate you to sit there. And also like sometimes, especially during exam periods, it's nice to have a nice smelling candle because candles do relieve stress.
Absolutely. I think that's, I've never thought of, putting oils or essential oils on your desk, but that would definitely help. And I think especially now we're all doing exams from home, it's to have a lavender candle to kind of help you maybe concentrate. Obviously you set that up beforehand, but that's such a great idea, because you would want to sit there if it smells really nice. So thank you. And so scheduling and time management, I can imagine you would be very effective in this because of having had done 2 lots of HSC. Tell us about how you manage that.
Okay, so with my scheduling, so first, like before like starting year 12, I knew which subjects are my weakest and which ones like I'm good at. Like for example, I knew that I am good at extension 1 math and at biology and community and family studies, so I gave them less time than what I gave extension 2 maths, for example. And then with planning, I was very, very specific. So I didn't try like have in my planner study biology or revise biology. Like I would be specific on what is it that I want to study that day. Like if I wanted to revise homeostasis, like I would say create a mind map for homeostasis. And then also another thing that you need to keep in mind is to know which degree you want to apply for, because some degrees have additional examinations. Like with medicine, for example, they would want you to sit UCAT, and some law schools they require you to do that. And those exams are really, really hard. Like you can't study for them the night before. Like they need as much as time as any other unit subject. And also with planning, make sure you alternate with your study sessions. So don't have 3 study sessions of chemistry, like have 1 chemistry, 1 biology. Like don't have each day just for 1 subject because you will forget things. So make sure you're consistent with your revision. How I used to do my study sessions, like my week, I used to plan it the week before on Sunday night. And then I would make sure that I would allocate 6 hours of study that week for all of my subjects. And then I would have them spread out. Like, for example, on Monday, I will do 1 hour of biology. And then on Tuesday, another hour. And then on Wednesday, I would usually not do biology. And then I would keep it for another day. And then I treated also UCAT as a 2-unit subject. So I gave it as much as time as any other HSC subject. And
Yes,
also
that UCAT is very difficult, and there's a lot of things out there to help you prepare. So I can imagine that you would put just as much time. So that's great. Yeah. Sorry, keep going.
with scheduling, so don't have long study sessions. So how I used to do it is I would have a 30-minute study session. So during the first 5 minutes of my study session, I would write a to-do list on what I want to study in that session. And then I would study for 20 minutes. And then in the last 5 minutes, I would revise what I was just studying. And then I would take a 5-minute break. And after that break, I would do another subject and I would do cycle. I will do it all over again.
Wow, so 30-minute blocks, that's actually really small. And I'm sure a lot of people here would be like, wow, can you do much in 30 minutes? But yeah, I guess you can, especially with extension 2 maths, is 30 minutes kind of 1 or 2 questions? Is that kind of what 30 minutes entails for extension 2?
Actually, extension 1 and 2 math, the study method for them is a bit different. So how I did them is because they require so much work.
Yeah,
I actually started them during the summer holidays. So I got a math textbook and I found a bunch of videos online, and I would watch those videos and I would do questions from my textbook, but then this would obviously take me more than 30 minutes per study session. So I would go for a whole hour, and then I would take like a 5-minute break, then I would do this again. And then during school like weeks, then what I would do, I would have that 30-minute study session, and then I would just be doing my homework instead.
Yes.
Because I've already learned the content in the summer holidays. And then because I already had an exposure to those questions, then I could do them quickly. And also, sorry.
Yeah, no, keep going.
Also, one thing is during the summer holidays, a lot of people tend to just like relax and not do anything. But in any 12, you can actually get so much done during the summer holidays. Like I used my summer holidays to do all my chemistry notes, to do half of the content for extension 1 and 2 math. And then that's why I had so much time during the school year to rather than focus on writing my study notes. I used that time to work on my assignments and do practice exams and study for exams. Because remember that during those 3 terms, you will have to do so many exams and assignments. You will have at least 4 for each subject. So it is good to start in the summer holidays and also make good use of your term holidays.
Excellent. Well, that's actually a really good segue to the next slide, which is don't forget to take breaks. So during that whole time, when did you take breaks and how did you take breaks?
Okay, so during those 5-minute breaks that I would have during during my study sessions, I would actually not use my phone, because chances are I can't be on my phone for less than 5 minutes. I would be there for longer. Yeah. So then I would do some exercise, or I would go to the kitchen and eat something, or just have a walk in my backyard and then come back in. And then during that 20 minutes break that I would have after doing 3 or 4 study sessions, I would watch a movie or use my phone or do whatever. And also made sure that during the weekends, I had good 2 hours that on both of Saturday and Sunday to just do whatever I wanted to do, whether it is to go shopping, to go out, see my friends. So it is good to have a nice strategy on what to do on each break, and that really depends on how long that break is. If it's a 5-minute break, then calling your friend during that time is not a good idea, because you would talk to your friend more. Rather, it's good to get up, do some stretches.
Yes, absolutely. And did you ever, especially during the school holidays, did you ever take a day off or anything? Or was it really just, really focused? Because I can imagine a day off might probably have made you fall behind. Was that ever an option?
I only took a day off once, and then that was after my last trial exam, because that day I was exhausted.
Yes.
And on that day I woke up really early. I woke up at 4 a.m. that day.
Oh yes.
So I just took the day to relax.
I completely agree, because I do exams right now too. And once the exam is over, I take the rest of the day off because my brain just does not work. So yes, completely agree. And so that's again a really good segue into the next one, which is your social life, and having a social life during this time. What did you have much of a social life during the HSC, and what did that look like?
Okay, so during the HSC, I had a bit of social life, but I didn't cut it out entirely, but I kept it to minimum. So at school during recess and lunch, I didn't do any study. I just spent that time with my friends. And then I didn't really go out much during year 12 because I had a priority list. I was like, okay, it is just those 3 terms. After I finish them, I'm going to have 4 months of nothing. Because after exams, you will have a very long break and you can do whatever you wish. And then so like I was thinking about it, I was like, okay, 3 months, this is my whole life.
Yes,
I have my whole
exactly.
life to spend it with my friends, but I only have 3 terms to work on my HSC. But I
Yes.
still kept in touch with my friends. Like I had one friend that her and I are very, very close, and every day we would call each other or text each other just like to check up on each other.
Yes.
And I also had a study group with few friends, and that were like we both had like we had a nice social thing to do, and
Nice.
we were like also studying.
Exactly. You can share your stories, you can work together, you can still be social, but obviously in a way that's also quite productive, because you're absolutely right. It's a short period of time for the rest of your life. And once it's over, it's over. So, I mean, it's not everything, some people don't want, may not get the ATAR, but still go to uni and still get to do what they want. But yes, it's a critical time, that's for sure. And I think that's why it's so stressful. So hearing your thoughts is very useful. So the next one is asking for help. How did you go about asking for help, and what were your strategies?
Okay, so I was lucky enough in year 12. I had so many resources to ask for help, but then depending on the type of help I need, then that's who I would go to. So in year 12, I had unlimited access to Studiosity. Like I could ask 20 questions a day. That would be no issue. So if I was stuck on a homework question, then my first person to ask for help would be to go to Studiosity because it is just instant. It's like instant help.
Yes.
Whereas if I needed a help with an assignment and it was a very specific question, then in that case, the best person to ask is your teacher because she or he are the one marking it, and they are the only ones who know the marking criteria. And I also had my mom. She's really good at chemistry, so if I needed to get an answer within the same minute, then I would ask my mom.
Yeah, no, that's so good to have it. I remember my dad is an industrial chemist, so I had him to ask for chemistry questions, but I ended up dropping chemistry. So but yeah, it's so helpful to have parents and things like that to help. What subjects did you get help with Studiosity the most? What did you find it most helpful with?
I use Studiosity mainly for extension 2 math
I thought
because
so. I
I
thought you
came
were going to say that, because yeah, that's where we get the most demand, because extension 2 maths is really hard. Lots of maths helps. And so what did you find useful about Studiosity and extension 2 maths?
Okay, so the thing is, the tutors there, they're really, really good. I've never asked a question and that they didn't know. Like they always knew the answer, which is
Yes.
amazing. And then the thing is, they were very, very patient. Like they would go through every single step, but before they would begin the question, they would always ask me on what my thoughts are. And I think this is so much more helpful than them just giving me the information. They're just like, what are your thoughts? And I would show them my working out. Or if I didn't know anything, then I would tell them, I have no idea how to do the question. And then usually, when I would tell them I have no idea, they would ask me questions to trigger my thinking. And then the thing is with extension 2 math, and not just extension 2 math, with all the subjects that I got help with, is that rather than giving me the answer or doing the working out for me, like they would ask me questions to promote me to think of the solutions. So in a way, they helped me realize that I actually know how to solve the question, but I just didn't know that I know. So they gave me that guidance, like it's like pulling the information out of me.
Yes, exactly. And that's what they're really good at, because they kind of fill in the little gaps that you may have forgotten to get from A to B, and that's what you needed to get to solve the question. So absolutely, I'm so glad that it was very useful for you. So we'll talk more about Studiosity later, but moving on, organizing your notes. How did you do that? Because you were doing a number of subjects.
Okay, so I actually had an issue with that at the start. So I had like different methods until I found the perfect method. So I had like few sets of notes. So the first set of notes, that would be the very chunky like set, which is the one that I would do during the summer holidays. And usually the one I did during the summer holidays, it wasn't that summarized. It was more of copying the textbook or or the internet. So that was my first set of notes. And I also had my class notes and I had my study notes, like the actual study notes. These would be the very, very summarized ones. And they would be done using my class notes and my summer holidays notes. And I would try to be very, very concise without missing out on the important information. And the way I wrote my notes actually depended on the information. Like for example, if I had to compare and contrast methods of reproduction, I would represent that information in a Venn diagram because the syllabus is asking me to compare and contrast. So using a table or writing a paragraph won't be helpful in here. Or for example, if they wanted me to know the process of fermentation, I would present that in the form of a flowchart. So it really depended on the type of information. And then so I had like three different sets of notes, the ones I've mentioned earlier, and then the I think it was like 1 week before my exam, what I would do is I would print a clean copy of the syllabus, and then next to each syllabus dot point, I would write very, very summarized notes. And then after I do this, I would do what I would write, I would create one mind map for each module, and then that mind map won't be anything more than an A4 page. And that's why I was revising everything and I was understanding how everything in the syllabus links in together. So, and sometimes I used to force my little brother to come in and I would pretend that I'm teaching things to him because he's much younger than me. And then if I could make him understand the information, that means I can understand it. Like I taught my brother how to do calculus. And at that stage, he was like only in year 5.
Yes, that definitely shows that you have an understanding. If you can teach a year 5 student the concepts of calculus, that definitely proves that you have a very thorough understanding. So that's a brilliant technique. And yeah, I mean, if anyone has younger siblings or someone, you know, that's a great thing to do for sure. Like, no, that's great. Thank you. So, you know, you mentioned organizing your notes and writing exam notes and things like that. And you also mentioned using the syllabus, which is not something that I was very familiar with in terms of HSC. You know, you've got your class notes, you've got your textbook and things like that. Did you actually go to the actual syllabus that you found online and take notes from that?
Actually, all the questions in the exam will come from the syllabus. And if like that is for all subjects. So now if you were to print any HSC, any biology HSC exam, you would find that all the questions come up from the syllabus, but that's slight different wording. And this is especially helpful for English, because what I did for English is I broke down the rubric and then I tried to generate every single question possible. And then that's why that's why I had an essay prepared for almost any question they could ask me. So in the
Yes.
exam for English, the questions weren't something unseen. All of the questions were something I've done before. So it is really helpful, and it's like the most important thing to refer to the syllabus because this is where they get all the questions from. So if you know the syllabus off by heart, I even memorized the actual like syllabus word by word, because if you know that, then because the syllabus tells you what like the type of information you need. Like even if you don't know how to answer a question, but you can kind of think of which syllabus dot point this comes from, you can just like write down the words in that syllabus dot point and you will still get some marks. Because if you would go and look at the marking guidelines for all subjects, like you get 1 mark for attempting the question, like you have some relevant
Yes.
information. Like they could ask you about Le Chandelier's principle, but you don't remember anything about it. You can just say temperature shifts according to the heat that you're adding. That this will get you a mark, even though you haven't answered the question. You have some terminology, so this will get you a mark.
Absolutely. Part marks were my savior in the
Yeah.
HSC. So yes, it's really, yeah. And every little bit counts. I guess, did you, you know, you said you wrote essays and things like that. Obviously you didn't memorize the essays, but you had an understanding going in, right, of what to, the outline of what you wanted to say. And that's very clever. Like, that's a really good way to go about preparing for English, because that is what, yeah, I remember very clearly sitting my English HSC exam. It was very stressful. So, so yeah.
Can I just say one thing with English is memorizing essays won't help at all. I did this like in year 9, which is why in the first half of year 9 I didn't do well in English. But then as of the second half of year 9 until year 12, I never memorized essays. However, I had quotes. I memorized a bunch of quotes that would allow me to answer any question. And then I also learned the effect of the technique on the audience, and then I could just easily mend that in to suit any question. So it is much more useful creating few essay plans and writing essays than memorizing essays, because memorizing an essay won't the maximum it will get you is a 12 out of 20.
Exactly. Yes.
Like, it won't get you anything higher.
Yes, absolutely. And, you really got to, with essays, it's all about how you answer the question and how you structure and what your argument is. So if you memorize it and the question's slightly different, you're not addressing that question. So absolutely. It's difficult, but, that's it. Your essay in the exam does not need to be perfect, because they know you're writing it on the spot. So that's, very, very helpful. And so, any last tips about pre-exam preparation?
Okay, I know you may have heard this so much, but it's actually to do as many practice exams as possible, because questions do reappear. And also it is good to have the sample answer that NESA gives, because their sample answers, you can also use them in your notes, because their answers are really good, especially like there was this topic in chemistry that I really struggled with. So what I did for that one is I went and found past HSC questions for that topic, and then I went to see the sample answers NESA has, and this helped me understand the topic using the actual information that NESA themselves wrote. So if you're looking for study notes written by NESA, so you have to go to the marking guidelines. It is the only place where you will find notes written by NESA. And also with exam preparation is to sort questions out by topic. So I was lucky enough for 2 of my subjects, for CAFs and all my math subjects, my teacher would sort them out by topic. Whereas for biology and chemistry, I had to do this on my own. And you can even find books. You can get those Excel Success One books. They do sort questions out by topic. So what I would do is I would first do questions like as I'm learning the topic. So if I was doing about Le Chatelier's principle, or I'm doing about biotechnology and Mendel's laws, I would do questions relevant to that. And but like the month before before the actual HSC, I would do full length exams, and I would make sure I timed them. And sometimes I would not time them. And also a helpful strategy at the start is, chances are you won't know the information, especially if you are doing the exam like in February. Like if you're doing a practice exam in February while your HSC is like in November, is to have your notes while you're doing your exam questions. And to do this, like for the first exam, do it while you have your notes with you for the whole exam. And then for the second exam, reduce it to only have your notes with you for a quarter of the exam, and then work your way through it.
Wow, that's a really good idea. Because just to be clear, you can't take any notes into the HSC, right? It's for math. I'm talking maths, really. Yeah. So it's completely closed book. Okay, sorry. That's really good, because then you kind of scaffold yourself from relying on those notes. So you kind of have it in your mind, and you eventually don't need to use it. And I think absolutely with practice exams, because sometimes with exams, it's not really about what's on the exam, it's knowing how to do the exam. It's not the content as much, because if you're, a lot of these, everyone, you know the answer, you just don't know how to work to show what they want, so it's really, practicing that is such a big element of preparation. And it's interesting that you even timed yourself as well, because that's going one step further to make sure that, because exams, they're a marathon, you've really got to keep your stamina up through the 3 hours, is it? 3 hours, 3-hour exam. And yes, I remember at the two hour, 30-minute mark, I'd panic because I've only got 30 minutes left. And so pacing yourself, making sure that you're getting through it is super important. Thank you so much for that. That was really, really helpful. Look, you'll hang around till the end of the webinar and to answer questions. Is that okay?
Yes, but I might need to go for 10 minutes.
No
Now,
worries.
is it okay? Can I
Yeah.
just go now for 10 minutes, then I'll be back?
Yes,
I'll
definitely.
turn off
Yes.
my camera and then I'll come back.
Perfect. Perfect. Great. Because I actually wanted to talk to everyone about Studiosity. This was one of Mariam's main tools that she used. Studiosity is available to members at Waverley Library, Wallara Library, and Randwick Library. It's a free service, and you can access the service and get help with a number of different subjects, including maths, English, science, biology, chemistry, all these core subjects that you're doing that are quite challenging. You can just jump online and talk to a subject specialist immediately to kind of work through your question. So I'm just going to play a little video, and it's going to just summarize what Studiosity is in a nutshell.
Study can be challenging, especially when you start stressing over a problem. Don't worry, Studiosity is here to help. Wherever you are, we're there with you too. Studiosity offers personal online support anywhere. From our dedicated team of subject specialists, we'll work with you to get you the help you need, giving you the confidence and essential skills to succeed. You can connect live with us to chat, illustrate, and even upload diagrams and files to work through your question with a specialist in real time. Want writing feedback on your draft? Send it to us and get help back within 24 hours. Remember, whenever you feel stuck, just look for Studiosity. Study.
Oops. So that basically sums up what Studiosity is. And Studiosity comes with a number of different tools. So I'm just going to walk you through what they are. So we've got a new assignment calculator, and this is really helpful to kind of look at what your timelines are going to be with each assignment. So what you do is you put in your due date, and it basically then steps out all the bunch of stages that you'll need to complete and the deadlines for those stages to ensure that you have a completed assignment at the end. And it's really useful for, writing essays or projects or assignments, anything that you have with a deadline, it can help. We actually designed this because university students, when you do go to university, it's going to be, it's mainly assignments. Those are your main assessments. And you have assignments throughout. And so this was kind of designed for them, but we realized that there's such a big benefit to high school students because you also have a lot of assignments. So do jump online and go to our website, studiosity.com, and check it out because I think it would be really helpful. Another service that we have, this is available through the library. So you'll need to be a member of your library to access this, but you also have access to about 750 practice tests from year levels 3 to 12. So you've got things like NAPLAN, obviously you're not in year 3 or 9, but lots of different subjects like specialist mathematics subjects, physics, chemistry, environmental science, a lot of different quizzes that you can kind of test your knowledge. And also if you just kind of want to, kind of revise year 11 stuff, then you can absolutely go in and do a year 11 quiz. If you want to just look back at year 9 things, you can access the whole range of quizzes in your own time. And essentially it's mostly multiple choice questions, and you can click on it and it tells you if you're right or wrong. And if you're still not satisfied with the explanation, you can connect straight to a subject specialist. And we also have our 24/7 writing feedback service. Now, this is really all about essays and writing. So if you ever have a piece of writing that you want feedback on before you submit it, you can actually send it to Studiosity and get help. So sorry, that was this writing feedback. This is actually our Connect Live service. So sorry about that. So Connect Live is what Mariam was talking about with the specialist help. You actually connect and you connect to a subject specialist in that subject area, and you can ask your specific question. It could be a maths problem that you're having trouble with. It could be understanding a concept in chemistry. It could be a biology thing. It could be an English question. Maybe you don't know where to start with your assignment. But the key thing here is that someone is on the other end ready to talk to you. To help you work through your question. There's chat box, there's a whiteboard, and you can actually talk in person now and have a conversation with them. So that might be easier for you to explain your question. So it's definitely a very useful service. As a student, as someone who studies, I definitely use it. And it's really, really helpful to kind of either cement concepts or just to get unstuck if you can't work through something. And as I was mentioning, we've also got the writing feedback where you submit something and get feedback within 24 hours. And it's any written piece of work. It's not really about the content that you write. So they're not going to critique you on your analysis of Romeo and Juliet. It's really about how you use the English language. Is your grammar correct? Is your spelling good? Is your, what is your sentence structure like? What's your essay structure like? Things like that. So if you really want something very specific, I would definitely go to Connect Live and connect with a subject specialist. But if you want general feedback about your writing, definitely writing feedback. So that's how you differentiate the two. So how to get access. There, each of your libraries have online access to Studiosity, and you can actually join up to your library online as well. But I'm going to just quickly show you how to find the Studiosity link on their website. So the first one is, Randwick. So with Randwick, you want to click on, go to the homepage of the library and then click on e-library and then scroll down. And then click on online learning and then scroll down. So e-library, online learning here, you can see, and if you scroll down, the Studiosity link is right there. For Waverley, you want to go to the homepage. You want to click on the services for you menu, go to youth and students, and then scroll down. So services for you, then scroll down to youth and students, and then you'll find the link to Studiosity there if you scroll down. And Woollahra is you want to go to the Woollahra homepage. You want to scroll down to online library resources. It's a really nice big link there, and I'll just show you in a second. So we're at the library page. We scroll down to online resources, we click on that, and then we scroll all the way down to Studiosity. So there it is. And then once you're there, you go to the home page, and you need your library card number and the PIN that you set up when you set up your library account to access the service. So some of the frequently asked questions that we get is, can this service help me? And we've actually worked with, so Studiosity is an Australian company. We've been around for almost 20 years now. And we have done studies to show how Studiosity has benefited students. And it definitely does, while it definitely does relieve stress, make people feel more confident, one of the main things that it does do is it does help you with your grades, because if you have a better understanding and you are less stressed, you are naturally going to do better. So, another thing I should mention is that if you are looking for your first part-time job and you want feedback on your cover letter or resume, this is also a great service for you. You can send it through writing feedback and get feedback and get it returned to us, to you within 24 hours. So we have another question about subject specialists. Who are these subject specialists and where are they from and how do I know they can help me with my question? It's very, very common questions. We have over 750 subject specialists all around the country and the world. They're mainly in Australia, New Zealand, and also South Africa, UK, and Canada. And the reason why we have those is because the service is 24 hours. Both services are 24 hours. And to make sure that we have demand. So let's say you're logging in at 3 a.m. You're probably likely going to get a UK subject specialist, but if you log in through normal hours, normal Australian hours, like 7 p.m, you're more likely to get an Australian subject specialist. So it really depends on the time zone, but they're all screened, they're all employed by us, they all have their associated working with children checks, so they're all, it's a very safe service. and they're going to really help you determine the issue, the problem, determine the answer to your problem yourself. So that brings me to my next point, which is what Mariam did mention, that they don't give you the answer. They help you to figure out the answer yourself, because that is what's going to be really helpful within those exams. And look, that's the end of my part about Studiosity. Look, I would love to open the floor up to see if anyone had any questions for Mariam. Please feel free to jump into the chat and type away. So someone asked, will there be a replay? I'm thinking that you're asking if this is recorded, and absolutely. So you can definitely rewatch it. I'll send the link to everyone, so you can rewatch it and have a look, and hopefully benefit for this more than once. So yeah, definitely. Thanks, Melanie. So we've got another, okay. So someone asked, Mariam, what was the workload like in preparation for the HSC?
Is that, so do you mean as in 1 month before the exam or throughout the whole year?
I would say throughout the whole year, I think, yeah.
Okay, so it was pretty intense because you will have obviously multiple subjects. So you will be getting assignments for all of them all at the same time. And then in addition to having to learn your notes and doing practice exams, so it was pretty intense. However, if you do manage your time, if you spend like 4 hours a day studying, it won't be that bad. And also, if you have any free periods during school hours, make sure you make a good use of those hours, like do your homework in them, do any outstanding assignments, and even like at home. So like divide up your time. So like what I used to do is I would spend half of my time doing homework and then the other half doing assignments, because you have to remember that assignments are really, really important. And then also it is not your assignment mark that actually counts. So your assignments mark is just there to give you your rank within your class. So then obviously that makes it harder, because the higher your rank, the better your ATAR will be. So this obviously increases the workload, especially if you're at a selective school or a really high ranked school. There would be so much competition that you will have to just the workload will just increase. I wasn't in a selective school, so I didn't have that much competition, but generally speaking, the workload would be very, very intense. So just make sure you manage your time.
Yes, I feel like a big part of what you've been talking about is time management, and it's, you know, because you've got so much to get through. It's very, yeah, it seems quite intense, but, you know, short period of time, a lot of intensity until you leave, and then you have this 4 months of relaxation until it all starts again at uni. But honestly, that's what I was told. I was told uni would be like doing the HSC again, but it isn't. It's honestly a lot easier and less stressful. So I just want to, yeah, let people know that. So another person asked is, what pre-undergrad tests, such as the UCAT, did you take part in? And how would you recommend to prepare for these exams?
Okay, so I only applied for medical school, and then the law school I applied to didn't require me to do LAT. So the only undergraduate exam I've done is UCAT, and I also have done ISAT, which is the test you need to do if you aren't considered a domestic student. So in terms of how to prepare for those ones, sorry, was the question how to prepare for them?
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
So those exams, again, like I said earlier, they need as much as work as any other 2-unit subject. So you really need to be you really need to be organized, like when it comes to studying with them. Like my biggest mistake with the UCAT is my exam was in July, at the end of July, and I always started practicing for it at the end of April, which wasn't that was not wise at all. Like it was really like 2 months before my exam. And then it was also like in the middle of trials and everything. So I recommend you study for those exams during the summer holidays. Don't do what I did. That was a mistake. However, what did save me is that at my school during school hours, I only had chemistry and caths, and then extension 1 and 2 math were before and after school. So I had so many free periods. So that sort of saved me. But otherwise, if it wasn't for that, there would have been no way I would have got in the first time. But yeah, so make sure you prepare early and you do lots and lots of practice exams, and you do develop techniques on how to answer questions, because that's like the UCAT and LAT and like all those exams that you need to do to get an entry into undergraduate courses. They're very different than your typical HSC exams. They are not about memorizing content. They're about you showing them that you have a particular thinking skill and a particular skill, and so it's more about how well can you apply a skill within a specific time frame, and how well you can work under stress. So make sure you do lots of questions and you start early. And if you're struggling with, and the thing is with UCAT, what I always like to tell my friends and my family friends, would you go onto an HSC exam without going to school and having a teacher? No, it's the same thing with the UCAT. If you're able to, I recommend you enroll with a trusted UCAT preparation company, because just like you wouldn't walk into your biology exam without going to your biology class, then do that for UCAT, because the UCAT is by far the hardest exam I've ever done.
Yes.
And
oh,
so,
yes. Yeah, no, absolutely. And prep is the key here, because it's just, that is really how, like, testing you on how to take the exam. It's very much practice that's going to get you through that. So yes, no, thank you. So another question is, I'm interested in medicine. What are some tips you have for getting into a medicine course? Also, what medicine course are you currently studying? I guess, yeah, can you answer that? Like,
okay, yeah, sure. So I am enrolled at Western Sydney University, and I'm doing their Doctor of Medicine program. And basically, to get into medical school, you need to have a plan beforehand. You need to know the requirements. So with medicine, you have to do the UCAT. So the UCAT is as important as your ATAR, if not more than your ATAR, especially with Western, because at Western, the ATAR cutoff, if you live in Western Sydney, it is 93.5. If you live outside Western Sydney, it is 95.5. But beyond that, I got 97.6, and one of my friends, she got 99.95. But the only thing they looked at when it came to our ATAR is whether or not we met that threshold. So even though her ATAR was higher than mine, that didn't matter. What mattered is our UCAT scores. My UCAT score was higher than hers. So I got my offer before hers. And also with medicine, there's an interview, and the interview is also as important as your UCAT and your ATAR. And a big mistake is people underestimate interviews, especially medical school interviews. But the interviews are really, really important. Like in medical school, in their interviews, I can't tell you what questions they ask you because I'm not allowed to, but I can give you a general idea. Is what they do is they ask you about things like your achievements. A lot of people do fall in the trap of talking about their academic achievements, and they actually aren't asking you for your academic achievements. They're asking you about your community achievements, because they know that for you to get an interview, you obviously have plenty of academic achievements. So they want to know about you as a person and how are you in the community. So to get into medical school, so you need to have a good ATAR, so practice beforehand. You need to have a good UCAT score, again, practice beforehand, and also make sure you prepare really, really well for the interview. Don't walk in without having done any preparation. So at least have 2 weeks of preparation for your interview. And also make sure you show them skills that they want to see in you, like traits that they want to see in a doctor. Like they don't want someone very serious, like that is serious all the time. Like make sure you go in there with a smile on your face, have some humor, because now medical schools, they want to graduate doctors who have a sense of humor, who are understanding and do show some empathy and do show that there's this sense of humanity in you. So do make sure that you show all of those traits in you. And also don't say that you want to do medicine because of job security, because this is not a valid reason. And then don't say you want medicine for power. Again, like there is no power in medicine, by the way. So they don't want the sort of answers like if you want to say if you say things like, oh, I want to do medicine because my family wants me to do it, or it has a good job, you will automatically, I can guarantee you will not get in. Like, and also don't say things like, I want to do medicine because I want to help people, because they're going to ask you things like, then why not nursing? Why not pharmacy? You're going to help
Yeah.
people in them.
Yeah.
So
What?
you
Yeah.
have to say something that is unique to medicine. So medicine is more of detective work because you're going to have to put in the puzzle together. So do show that in you, and also do show that you appreciate that all health professions are important. So don't say things medicine is more important, because you will automatically fail your interview. So do make sure you have good preparation.
Yes. Well, yes. No, that's so helpful, I think, because I've met a lot of doctors and they do have that attitude. So they're really probably trying to change it up now and be, you know, a lot more down to earth and a lot more, yeah, like, so that's good. So final question, and we just have time for one more question. What does a typical day at uni look like for you, especially now during lockdown? And I think this is interesting because it's going to be similar for everyone going to uni if we're in this situation next year. So yeah.
Okay, so your typical day or week at university, like it really varies on what degree you're studying. I can't talk about other degrees, I can only talk for medicine. So usually I like other degrees where you have four subjects a semester. With medicine, you do it in blocks. So for example, right now I'm doing the cardio block. So so every day for me is different. For example, on a Monday, so I have 3 lectures or 4 lectures in the morning, and then we have a PPL class. And in that class, what you do is you're giving a case. So they give you a patient with their personal information, and then they give you basically a bunch of symptoms that they're experiencing. So you in your group, you have to come up with a bunch of hypotheses on what the patient may have and justify them. And you also think about examinations that you will order and what examinations you will do with the patient, and then you basically try to come up with what the patient may have.
Wow.
And then
yeah,
and then
that's very complex. Yeah.
And then that, like the case basically it is relevant to the lectures that you had in the morning. So your morning lectures will give you a hint on what the case may be. And then on Tuesday, what we do is I have a hospital day, and then on that day we learn clinical skills that are relevant to that case we learned on Monday. And then throughout the week, I'm expected to do some research on Monday, on the case on Monday. And then on Wednesday, we usually have 2 pracs. And again, those pracs are relevant to, or like they may be pracs or they may be tutorials. It really depends on the case. And again, those would be relevant to the case. For example, last week we were learning about ECGs and heart scans. So we had a practical on ECGs, and then we had a tutorial on how to deal with patients who have an illness that may cause that may lead to death. And then again in the afternoon, I had few lectures. Thursday is usually off for me, so I spend that time doing my research on the case. And then on Friday again we have few lectures in the morning, and then we end the week by presenting the information we have on the case that we did on Monday. So
nice.
The whole week is
yeah. Very full on. No, that's really interesting. Yeah, so like that's someone else also asked, what did you say in the interview to why you wanted to do medicine? But I don't know if you can say your answer and tell people your answer. Is that like I'm not sure.
I can't say the questions they ask, but I can say the things you can say. Okay. So for me, in terms of why I said I want to do medicine, is I've lived in so many countries and I have seen a lot on health complications, and then how that impacts on people's health. And then also I have few family members who have gone through that, who have had the chronic illness. And I've said that I want to do medicine is because it's like I said that there's other health professionals did play a part in helping my family members recover. However, what I said why medicine specifically is I really like problem solving.
Mm.
And with medicine, you have to put in all those pieces together. So like you are the one who's doing the diagnosis, and which is, and then whereas if I was a nurse or a physiotherapist, I'm doing the treatment, not the diagnosis, and I didn't have the chance to do the detective work.
Yeah.
Then I can say it. And also do show some humor. So how I began my answer, I said, oh well, when I was little, I used to always have my teddy bear like in front of me, and I used to have like a bag of jelly beans, and I would say, here, take your medication.
Yeah.
And I said that I had like a fake stethoscope, and I used to like, but then like I made the interviewer laugh, and then I would say the real answer as to why I wanted to do medicine.
Nice. No, that's great. Yeah, I can see why you got in. Yeah. Okay, really final question. What advice would you give to your year 10, 11 or 12 self?
Okay, so my year 10 self and also of my year 11, I would actually tell myself, first of all, to start my UCAT prep very early, because starting my UCAT prep in late April, whereas my exam is like in July, was not very bright. Like it is like a very not so smart idea. So I would actually tell myself to start in earlier during the summer holidays. And I would tell also my year 10 self is to pay attention in English, because in year 10 I've barely paid any attention to English. I just did my assignments and that's it. That's
you just got so
yeah.
Okay, no, that makes sense.
And I would tell myself to stress less, because I've stressed so much in year 12, and I could have used that time to study instead of stressing out and being depressed. Yeah, so that's what I would tell myself.
Yes, that's great advice. I think that's something that we should all take on board, because I mean it gets really stressful, but the bigger picture, I had friends who didn't do so well in their UCAT. They did get really good HSC marks, but they went into medicine second year, like they did a 1 year, and so HSC isn't the end of the world. I mean, it's a really important time, but it's and you want to make the most of it, but you don't necessarily want to kill yourself doing it or make yourself go crazy. So I know that's what I did, and I definitely regret it. And I think if I had, looking back after over many years since doing my HSC, if I knew that it would affect me so much later in life, I probably would have done a bridging course, because I don't think it's that worth it to go through all that stress. But it was really important, and it's a big time of your life. It's the most important exams of your life so far. So look, there are more questions, but we don't have time for them. I'm so sorry. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you found that useful. Thank you, Mariam, for all your insights. And look, I will be emailing this out to everyone. And so look, best of luck with your studies. Feel free to try Studiosity if you do feel that it might help. And please look out for my email with the link to this webinar. So thank you again. Thanks everyone, and have a great evening.